And we got, well, we should probably start the show with introducing Charlie Hobbs and Jeff Price. And I'm your Uncle Gomez. We're doing a UK show, and I contacted Charlie, and of course, Jeff is our ambassador to the entire continent of Europe. Is that cool with you? I don't know. We don't have anybody else over in Europe. But,
yes.
but you know, I don't know. I don't want to get political, but you can still swim the channel, right?
Yeah.
So, Charlie, I knew Charlie from my days of going to Frostbike. I got to meet him, and one of my first questions is, are you a part-time human of Surly or full-time human of Surly, or are you a human of Surly?
I don't know. I'm a gun for hire for Surly. So Ice and Distribution, who are the UK distribution company for Surly, wrote me up for trade shows, and where I get to stand on a booth for 4 days, talking bollocks about fine Surly bicycles. It's tough. It's a tough job. It's 10 in the morning to 6 at night, talking to people. So years ago, I came up with I just started lying to people to pass the time, and people say, "Hey, why are the tires so big on this bike?" And I said, "Well, if you look at me, I've got a bit of a belly. I look like a bit of a fat kid. But watch what happens when I stand next to this big fat dummy. Look how much skinnier I look. I look like Bradley Wiggins now. These bikes are great. You don't even need to ride them to look athletic. Just stand next to them, and you will look slimmer." Sir.
They're slimming.
Yeah, they are slimming visually. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, if you've not noticed that a lot of girls, if you see two ladies, sometimes one's really good looking, but they often hang around with someone who isn't really good looking. That's not an accident. That's the magic of contrast.
Magic of contrast.
Yeah.
So the other thing that that you're famous for, Charlie, is the bum butter.
Yeah.
And I like to break news. I heard a rumor that there's just a pinch of real gnome in every tin.
Real gnome. Well, the gnomes are kind of easy to harvest. They've got little legs. They can't run fast. You don't have to be fast on your feet or a bike, and you just get one of those little fishing net things. And you just scoop them up with one hand as you go along, drop them in the blender with all the other rubbish that goes in it, and you just got to make sure you take your little funny hats off first and take away the fishy rods, because they're a bit rough on your ass.
Grind them up into powder, just a little pinch in every tin. I hate to blow the secret ingredient, but but it is like a 100% vegetable type of lubricant, right?
Yes, it's vegetable based, made out of nuts and natural oils, and it's really, really, really slick. Like grease. But if you use a Vaseline, you're slapping petrol jelly on your balls.
Byproduct of drilling for oil.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Why? I'm obviously, because I'm a super responsible adult, I'm also a scout leader. And so we use this as fire lighter. The idea, I'm going to put it around my balls and arse, especially after when it's roughed up after a long wet ride. And if you're a smoker too, there's also the fire risk. So it's a natural alternative. It's ethical. It's tested on arseholes, not animals. It's 100% vegan. I make it out of vegans so they can't run away, a bit like the elves. And I don't know. You might need to edit the next bit out.
I've tried it.
Was it good?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's with this lockdown, loads of people are cycling indoors.
Oh,
all that sweat on their back is going one place, and there's a whole load of people who are new or recently returning to cycling who haven't got a tough arse. So this whole virus thing is actually, who would have thought it is, it's actually, this is the era of the arse cream.
Funny you say that, but bike shops
Yeah,
are super busy.
yeah.
I know I talk to several dealers quite often, and they're like, "Man, we can't keep up with repairs, and the bikes are going out the door." Dude, Mark Traeger, I follow his Instagram. It's like 5 a day. He has just lined up with new bike day posts, which
But
is cool.
bike shops have been worried, and it's been tough business for a long time.
Right.
And yesterday, I think it was yesterday, maybe a day before. Who knows what day it is today and when yesterday was? Yesterday could have been quite some time ago now. Or it might indeed even be tomorrow. Who can tell? No one's sure.
Time is real, man.
So the government in the UK here, in England, announced a £2 billion cycling and walking initiative. So 2 billion, that's like 100 bazillion dollars or something like that. I don't know. It's but I mean, £2 billion widening pavements, pop-up cycle lanes, and just infrastructure so people won't be riding public transport.
Cool.
So who would have thought that the struggling bike shops and the independent distributors and the bum butter manufacturers and as a guy, we've seen a product called a timber bell.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a jangly bell, like a
Yeah,
pass
you turn
bell.
it on and off, so it just keeps ramblers out your way. But when you're cycling along towpaths and shared cycle routes, turn this on, and all the diseased people get out of the way, and they're selling like hotcakes. It's absolutely crazy, but so
Cool.
yeah, it's not bad time.
Let's change the subject to you are working on promoting gravel events now.
Yeah. So well, bike packing. So the Dorset event started 7 or 8 years ago, and that was because Sousa made a gravel bike, and I liked it. No one else understood it because there were no gravel events. Yeah, the Warbird, wasn't it?
Oh, the Warbird. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the Warbird. Yeah, the first, and no one kind of got it because we don't have a dirty Kanza and so on over here. So I came up with a 100-mile loop with some gravel in it. There's also some mud, there's also some chalk, there's also a lot of sand, but there is some gravel in it. We called it a gravel event. 30 people turned up in the pub garden with cash in the first year, and then what, 7 years later we got 300 odd people. But after a couple of years, we decided to make it an overnight event as well, and that went from 30 people sat around one pot of stew on the fire in the woods to 200 people with whole deer being butchered. And that grew, and the people doing the 101 day hasn't really grown a whole lot. It's still only about 60, 70 people, but we have to shut the door at 200 on the overnighter. And so John Fleck from Surrey, he was sat around a campfire chewing on a leg of deer. He said, how the hell did you come up with this? He said, this is what I've always done. Before mountain bikes, I was a little scout. Me and my mates would go off with a sleeping bag on BMXs into the woods overnight and camp out, cook on the fire. I said, this is just scouting for adults. That's all it is. And, the scouts don't give me any money, and you guys do.
Well, here in the colonies, the gravel bike events are kind of mirroring the progression that single speed events had, and the 29er movement had, and 24-hour racing had, and then I don't know, plus fat bikes, plus bikes, now gravel bikes, and it's a family feeling. It's a feeling of belonging, a tribal kind of thing that has grown to way bigger numbers than any of the fat. Well, I shouldn't say any of the fat bikes, because Fat Bike Berkey gets 2,500 people, but the small events get 2,500 people. The massive events get 15,000 people. It's crazy. We have an event in Michigan called the Barry Roubaix, and there's like 65 waves of 100 riders in a crack. It's like wow, incredible. The fat bike wave, when the couple of years ago that I went and covered it, had 100 riders in it. So it was great.
I think fat biking is in the UK seems to be slowing down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a theory on that, and it's that fat bikes turned up as an antidote to overcomplicated, overpriced, and overbiked, over-efficient full suspension bikes. And if you want a trail to be really easy, don't spend $5,000 on a full suspension bike. Just bulldoze it and put some tarmac down. You know, it was just, I think the bikes were doing too much. And when fat bikes came along, it's effectively a bike from the early 90s or the 80s, but with kick-ass tires. People were taken back to the original joys of a mountain bike, because the fat bikes could go beyond where a mountain bike could go, just like the first mountain bikes could go beyond where a road or cross bike went. And then gravel bikes turned up, and gravel bikes are, don't tell anyone, they're kind of 1980s mountain bikes with drop bars, but because people, you know, people can't know that. Don't tell them. And so I think, whereas fat bikes appeal to a bunch of people and drew people in from mountain biking, gravel sits, if you put it on a product positioning matrices or matrix, it sits right there between road and mountain, and so you're pulling people in from both sides. And the roads are, under normal circumstances, you wouldn't say the roads are, the roads are getting busier. You know, obviously in recent months they got surprisingly quiet, but the roads aren't a safe place to be, and people don't really, people aren't racers. We don't, we turn up for races. Only one arsehole's going to win it, and no one likes him. His family hate him. His kids are made to stand in a wet field every Sunday afternoon inside of a mountain in Wales, where he stands on another crappy plywood podium and it's given a plastic medal, and the wind's whipping around, and his kids are there under the umbrella trying not to get hypothermia. He's the guy who's racing, and the rest, no one else is really cares for it so much. So having bikes that aren't race bikes is kind of where the market's at. And for a lot of the gravel bikes are, comfortable, relaxed, and so on. Not all of them, but with fat bikes, there's not many fat race bikes, is there?
But I think that, I really gotten behind the Salsa more higher stack height, using a suspension corrected fork to get that front end higher, to get my drops not where I want my mountain bike tires to be, but be just slightly below that, maybe 2.5, 3 inches below that, and wide enough that, I don't know, that higher stack height gravel bike geometry I love. But you're coming from the roadside, you might be used to seeing, to riding something that the top of your bar is 2 inches below your seat, and your drops are even lower than that. So you're going to want something that's not like,
But the great thing with those guys coming from road and those the lower bars, is when you get them off road, they if they don't come from a cross background, they don't even use the drop, so they're descending on the hoods with almost no braking power, and they're all squirrely, and you can overtake them on a bloody BMX. Doesn't matter anything. It's great fun, and sort of seeing all these roadies suddenly turn up off road and go over the bars is just that's great value. That's one reason to get into gravel bike events, is to watch the roadies crash.
Oh, yeah, man. I heard a term for the whole gravel, and it's grody.
Yeah. So, Grody to the max, which was a Zappa lyric from Valley Girls. Grody to the max. Talking about having her nails done or something. Listen to it. Google it. Frank Zappa, Valley Girls. After this show, everyone go and listen to Frank Zappa on YouTube.
There you go. So Jeff just got a package on Sunday. A rare delivery.
Yeah. Before 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning, knock on the door. Who's that? Who knocks on someone's door during this lockdown? And it was Mr. Posty. And I've got myself a Hydro Flask 14-litre backpack, which looks pretty damn good, to be fair. So, yeah, first impressions, very good, very tidy. I'm looking out to using it over the next few months, and I'm pretty certain you're going to hear it right here on fatbike.com.
They didn't send you a gaudy color. They sent you something tasteful. That's nice.
I like black. I like black.
Yes.
No, it sits well. It does. It sits well on your back. It's not low down, so when you've got your water in there, it's not on your lower back. If you know what I'm saying, it's sort of mid range to take that weight, that lumber off you. So yeah, I don't usually
wear
ride
a
with
hip pack with it, or as we call them in the colonies, a fanny pack.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't ride with 2 litres of water on my back, but I'm looking forward to using that. I sure am, and see if it stays ice cold for at least 4 hours.
Yeah, that was their big thing last year. Is they developed that insulation tube, and how do you like the bite valve and whatnot? Because it's not, if you're used to Camelback bite valve. Oh, I just knocked my gnome over. Sorry.
Well, but
Gnome down.
beer. What about beer in that hydration pack? Is that going to work?
It might fizz out of the valve, so you've got to be quick drinking it. So that's not a bad thing, is it?
A frothing nozzle.
Yeah.
Is that a good look?
I think
someone should invent one with like an exhaust blow-off pressure valve somewhere, just somewhere in there, so you can put fizzy drinks in there, and and then you can, especially if they're designed for keeping drinks cold, beer's a natural choice.
There's a gap in the market.
I think cocktail, dude. Some sort of gin and juice thing. Then if you're gonna drink, you drink, and plus that has the whole antiseptic, like vodka kills all germs, and your slow brain cells.
Well, that's natural selection, isn't it? The slow ones, they're not going to win you races. Slow brain cells. The fast ones can get out of the way of the alcohol. It's the slow ones. You're just sort of thinning the herd, tidying up the woodland there, aren't you?
Indeed. I have a very, very clean woodland. So, Charlie, like the last thing that we want to do is I want to like preface this because we pre-recorded a session and we looked into our crystal balls and
shiny balls, shiny balls.
The shiny balls down there, or in my case, the old gray balls. And we predicted what's next for fat biking, but instead of looking from a manufacturer standpoint, because none of us make bikes, I just ride bikes and write bikes, shoot pictures of bikes, talk incessantly about bikes. But so as like from the user standpoint, what's next for the fat biking in the UK?
Oh, tough call. So I think, like I was saying, I think kind of gravel is the fat of the road, and so fat biking by pushing boundaries a long way, all the way up to 5-inch tires. That visually, that's a hell of a long way from from 23mm road tire, and so by pushing the boundaries, and some people might say too far, but they probably don't live anywhere near snow. I mean, so out of the extreme of fat biking, we ended up with the Krampus 29 plus. 27 plus is an established thing, but so by going too far, you can kind of come back a bit and find some much more usable and marketable. You've got to have a market for something if you're going to sell it. And so fat biking really has done its job, and but I think a lot of people who wanted to break away from mountain biking are looking at gravel rather than fat now. And yeah, so it's sort of personally, right now, I don't even own a fat bike.
Ouch.
Yeah, I've got a Tide 29 Plus of Vasago, which gets used for everything. Absolutely, I've got that and a Warbird, a gravel bike. And then there's a barn a couple of hills away, which has got my fixed wheel 29 and my clunker, my post office bike, etc., and a couple of motorbikes in it. But actually, bikes that I ride and have to hand, a fat bike isn't in there at the moment. And so I think the fat bike community is just going to tighten up, so when fat biking started, it was a bit like when single speeding started. There really was a community. And there was a time, not that long ago, when I was cycling before work, if I saw a fat tyre print, I could pretty much work out who had been down this beach, because there were so few of us that, you know, so, oh, he's riding a Nate or whatever, or an endomorph or whatever it was back then. And you think, oh, right, Jim's been along the beach this morning.
Sure.
And I think because of fat biking in the UK, it's a lot of bike for most applications. I think it will remain a really nice, tight little community, which is brilliant. You used to be able to say the same about mountain biking. Yeah, I get to hang around with Charlie Kelly occasionally. He's a bad influence, and so am I. So we get on really well. And when you talk to him about the early days of mountain biking, and it was a nice small community. You can't say that now. You know, it's so big.
Right.
And so I think the future of fat biking in the UK is the guys who still have an application for a fat bike, and will carry on riding fat bikes, and so they should. And I think the events will stay small. So small you won't even need to book a portaloo. You know, the catering will be Jim's got a barbecue. He's going to do all the cooking for us, rather than we need so and so catering. There'll be events of 25, 30 guys in a field. They'll drink too much, and I think it's better that way. You know, rather than
I always say like 60 people is like the maximum size for a great event, because that's the biggest event where you get to meet each and every person that goes, right? If there's 100 people, you're gonna miss some, and people, I don't know, culturally, people they break off into their little groups, and when you have that smaller thing, it breaks it all up. People have time to actually get to know one another. It's a good thing. So, Jeff, can you take us into the next segment, which was pre-recorded? Can you introduce our two guests and
Can I make a prediction on something else? The next fat bike thing, the future of fat bikes?
Sure.
It won't be fat bikes. It's going to be Frode, Fat Road. So if we went from 26 to 29, I stopped going over the handlebars at that point. I'm a big guy, and it was like I'd stolen a child's BMX up to 29. And I roll faster. When the Krampus came along, now I'm cornering really fast, And road, they're still on 700C. The Tour de France, the pros found out in recent years, 25 is faster than 23 millimeters on dead smooth tarmac. Someone's going to question 700C. We're going to have Road Plus, Frode, or 800C. And I was talking to Sani from Single Track magazine about this, and I said, you want to speak to Gary Fisher about this as well? And Gary said exactly the same thing I said. So you got two over the hill hairy idiots predicting the same thing. The next fat bike thing won't be fat bikes, it'll be fat roadies. Oh, yeah. Not fat roadies, because there's plenty of fat roadies around. Frode, you heard it here first.
Man, breaking news.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thanks for coming on, Charlie. You're a great guest. Hope we can do it again sometime.
You're welcome. Cheers, man. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Take it away, Jeff.
Okay, so first we've got John Clymer talking all things packrafting over here in the UK. And we then have Bruce, the Coast Kid, talking about the one and only Pugsley back on the beach and all things fat with them guys.
Thanks, guys. That'll be up next. And that's the Danger Dome podcast from the UK. Thanks.
Yeah. Just back.
Sorry.
I'll just plug in my phone into the old battery thing.
No worries. So let's look into our crystal ball and think about what's next for fat bikes. Anybody?
Silence.
Well, somebody suggested this, which I think it was John that suggested it, wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah,
it was me. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the future. Yeah, that's me. Yeah. the future of fat bikes. I don't know. Manufacturers stop making them now. You can get them customed, but if manufacturers stop making them, will they stop making the parts for them? Will we run out of parts?
Ooh.
Are they still available on the shops in America? Because we don't see them in the shops in the UK, really.
I never saw that one coming, John. Extinction. Will
Who
fat
knows?
become extinct? I don't think that's going to happen, at least in the U.S. Because
That's good.
people are still making them.
Yeah, like you said, you know, if every other car's got a fat bike on the back, you know, driving to the trail, you know, that's great because it shows that, you know, you guys over there in the US are buying them, riding them and enjoying them. But like I say, we are still struggling over here in the UK, you know, to have people, you know, getting out and, you know, sampling what a fat bike is and what it can do. And it's, like I said before, it's so bloody annoying.
Yeah.
You know, because they are fun.
So where do you think that they're going, Jeff?
In the UK, I don't think it'll get any bigger here. I don't, because the amount, or should I say, the brands that are available here been reduced over the last sort of 2-3 years. So obviously Bruce will tell you more because he's into it obviously a lot longer than I was. But there is that bit where you had to find every single part to bring into the UK, and then some bikes were available in the UK, and then the big boys jumped on it for a couple of years, and then they've jumped out, and then you're back to those little niche little pockets. So because they're not so widely available, it's not in everyone's sort of radar, to be honest. My local bike shop, we had a new owner there a few months ago, and I went there with the Salsa McCluck, and he asked questions about it, and I told him, pointed him to the videos of where I've been locally, and that was about 7 months ago, and he hasn't got any fat bikes in the shop. You know, it's all e-bikes, gravel bikes, road bikes, mountain bikes, BMX, everything but. And it's a shame. It really is a shame.
A bit negative here, sorry there.
Bruce, save us with some kind of optimism.
I mean, around here as well, I mean, my local Surly dealer has a couple of old bikes, but why they've not got bike rentals, I don't get it. Especially families coming, and a flat beach, family can ride for a half hour to an hour easy. And you've got 20-inch, 24-inch wheel fat bikes now. You know, you can buy them second-hand really cheap. Because that's the thing, I mean, the UK market is flooded with cheap. It's killed the value of a lot of our bikes because folk are, like John saying, they're selling them to buy gravel bikes. And the next must-have sort of bit of marketing that the internet's telling them. Mm-hmm. But certainly for hire, I don't get why shops aren't having them to hire, because they don't have to buy them. They just pay whatever a bike is to hire. I don't know, £30, £40 for a day or £50, and take them out. And they'll think this is great. We'll do it next year when we come on holiday. I just don't get. I mean, a lot of times I've been thinking about doing it myself, just hiring bikes. Just get somebody with a cafe. I can put a container at the back of it and fill it through fat bikes. Go after work, give them all a wash down. Just, I mean, we had them on Country File, which is a BBC outdoor program that's sort of based. And we were on it last year, and the amount of folk that around here know us because they see us all about. There's a lot of fat bikes in North Berwick, but most of them aren't getting ridden now. They're just sitting in folks' garages.
Stand by.
Like, I just don't get why folk.
You sound a bit negative here in the UK there. What I used to get was in the early days when it was Bruce, and Bruce will get that. As you ride past people, you get lots of people just hearing the voice at the side of your head saying, "Look at the size of them tyres. Do you see the size of them tyres?" And then about 4 years ago, it stopped. And then everyone knew them. And now I'm starting to hear it again from like a new generation of people. So they're not as popular as they used to be. They're now becoming niche again. So will they become niche? It's up to the manufacturers. If the manufacturers produce them, they could sell them. But at the moment in the UK, it's only like the three of us who are getting people interested in it.
There's probably a 5-year product cycle at work here. I'm not sure. I'm not versed enough in the business side of bikes to know what that product cycle is for when people need to upgrade or when they can give people another innovation that makes them upgrade, right? So like suspension fork or full suspension or etc. But the one area that Bruce had brought up, bikes for hire, one area that I see that could be something is lift service access fat biking in the wintertime. A ski hill could get a dozen bikes and a couple times a year shut a couple of runs down to skiers and run bikes up the lift and send people down. I've actually done it here in the US, and that is something that could drive some innovation for really slack front suspension, dual suspension. Who knows what the, maybe it has a ski on the front of it. I don't know. You know, the actual the Groms of tomorrow that jump this stuff and create that sport will drive that innovation, right? So I don't know.
Unfortunately for the UK though, simply for the fact that I live at the North Merseyside, which is the north end of the flat part of Cheshire. I'm lucky to see Jeff's Hills. I haven't seen snow on the ground here, and it's flat everywhere you look. I haven't seen snow on the ground for 3 years here. I've only ever had one chance to put the Bud and Lou on the fat bike. To
You guys don't make snow?
Never snow. Never snow.
No, our ski hills, we don't get enough snow for a ski hill to exist where I live, but they make snow. They have snow guns, and it gets cold enough at night, and they shoot water into the air, and it creates snow.
Wow. No, not around here. No, I don't see snow at all. It's just beach and sand dunes. And at the moment, the sand is being very, very dry. It's very, very boggy, really. You sink into it quite a lot there. You can't float. That's when you need the 5-inch round here. But no, like I say, I've got a Bud and Lou tyre in the garage that's been used twice. Once in mud and once in snow. And that's since I've had the bike.
Huh, wow.
Yeah, for me, I had, I think, 2 days of a snowy winter back in early November. We haven't seen snow since. And that's on them big mountains I go on. And with it coming so early, because we don't usually get it in early November, I thought, oh, we've got a cracking winter coming up. Here we go. No, nothing else. So we've got to wait till next winter. But, you know, I'll still get up there.
Bruce, does it snow on the coast of Scotland?
We had the sort of the beast from the east a few years ago there, which was the snow that came across from Russia, and then we had the 2010 winter, which we all had in the UK, and it was like conditions minus 25 Celsius, but we've not really had anything since. You're talking about the future of fat bikes. Certainly, they've still got a future for trail riding loose, like what Jeff does in Wales. I mean, the Snowdonia videos show it, you know, the loose rocks. That's what the Cairngorms in Scotland is. There's still a big fat bike scene up there, trail riding from Bothy Bikes. Dave at Bothy Bikes has a group ride every week. So for like a full sus fat bike, there's still they've all got their niches, all the different sizes of wheels. Will we still get stuff to buy new? That's the big question. I think as long as Surly Salsa can make the big stuff, you know, the hubs and stuff like that, and get like the manufacturers make the cranks, and the small manufacturers, Travers, etc., will still produce like the boutique frames, the tie stuff and that. It's a little bit of a worry though. Will we still have, I think you've got to stockpile bikes. I've got 4 Pugsleys, so if the first one lasts 12 years, my new one will last. I've got enough bikes now till I retire, or maybe I get that old, I will have to buy an e-bike. Who knows? Yeah.
So I had asked Jeff before what he thought, where he wanted to go the second we get the all clear. John, where do you want to go? Anywhere in the world?
Anywhere in the world. I want to do the Tour Divide at some time on the 29er plus, but I wouldn't be racing it. I'd be 30, 40 days, taking the time, riding, stopping, taking pictures, riding in daylight. But I've just heard I'm like one of the admin on the Social Distancing Cycling Club on Facebook, and I'm one of the admin on there now. And I've heard about the Ragbri. How would you pronounce it? Ragbri ride across. Now I know Jeff likes his alcohol, and he's interested in it as well. That sounds like an awesome event. Yeah,
dudes, you come for Ragbri, I'll ride Ragbri with you. I've never done it before, but it's crazy, and I know a bunch of people that do it. And oh man, I don't know if you have a place in the UK, but anyone I've ever met from Iowa is just the nicest person and can party like an animal, dude. They all are just so much fun. Adam Blake, is from
the photographs on the Facebook page is absolutely awesome there of the event itself. It just looks like a party on wheels, and that could be quite good. Maybe to do in a couple of years' time, maybe.
Yeah, spring break for adults, they called it.
It's good stuff, and don't expect flatness because Iowa, they put you on some great hilly roads. So why would you?
We're not the back of the Tour Divide.
No, not like that, but hilly for the middle part of the country. So Bruce, where are you going? No, money's no object. You're going anywhere.
I still want to go to Baja. Still want to go and see the Baja 1000, right? I can go with a fat bike, see those pro trucks going through over 100 mile an hour. It must be some sight. And do some sand riding out there, desert riding. I don't really eat meat, but I eat seafood, so I'll be sorted there for, I know there's that Sky Ranch. Everyone's just caught out to sea, helicoptered in and cooked, so I could go there and eat. So yeah, Baja, I've been on any Sunday, all the Baja stuff I've watched for years and still follow it on YouTube and stuff. Yeah, definitely Baja, I think.
Very cool. There's an island in the Sea of Cortez called Tiburon Island, like 70 miles long, all sand and desert. I've always kind of wanted to go to that island and circumnavigate it on the beaches. Wow. But Baja, that area, it's super intriguing to me. Iceland, I think, is a place that I'd like to go.
Oh yeah.
So just for my film there.
Yeah, me and John were there 2.5-3 years ago, and what a spectacular place! It's just the landscape is just amazingly scary because it's just so new. But yeah, it was that was a magical trip, that one, wasn't it, John?
Yeah, it certainly was, mate. Won't you remember? And we were so lucky with the weather. There was a volcano that was about to erupt. We had a race on our hands to get across a bridge because if we didn't do it, it'll be a week-long diversion to get around the whole island the opposite way. We didn't make this bridge. So it added a bit of excitement, seeing a bit of cloud of smoke going across and trying to listen to news and understand the Icelandic news channels as you're trying to race at, 60, 70 miles an hour in a Jeep with fat bikes and tents blowing out the window as well as you're flying along just trying to get across this one single bridge. It was a brilliant weekend.
Opening the window with the smell of sulphur coming in was, we're getting a bit closer, yeah?
Yeah. So no, it was a really good. Iceland is definitely a place to go, but you've got to be lucky with the weather because it can be atrocious over there as well.
I'm pretty weather tolerant. I've been in Alaska for a while.
Oh, okay then. Let you off.
But, there's no bad weather. There's just bad clothing, right?
Yeah.
But this is the next segment we should do on one of these is naked webcam, naked and afraid.
No. I think we brought it down. I think we brought the atmosphere down about being the UK market not being as brilliant as you'd thought it was, maybe. But we're not doing naked just to get it back up again, I tell you.
Get back
it
up.
Work both ways, Jeff. Especially where I'm involved. No. So we're going to do one last thing, which I think is... Oh, where's Gary's brain at? What was the last thing I wanted to do? Oh, boy.
Where's the script? Who's got the
Running
script?
out of ideas. We could have a drink and say, thanks for being on the show. I know what it was. I was just going to say, do you want to give like last thing to say, like how you're dealing with getting out on the bike while COVID-19 pandemic is we're in the middle of it and we're all restricted in what we can do. Start with John.
Where we are, the UK lockdown, they don't advise you to drive anywhere to exercise. The government, as I think as Bruce said earlier there, the government has advised a 1 hour exercise window, but it's only advisory. Problem is the mileage that we put in, an hour of cycling, we wouldn't even build up a sweat. We wouldn't get our heart racing or anything like that. So luckily for me, I've got the coast, I've got inland a little bit. I've got no hills, but because it's so low, I get lots of headwinds as well. So I can train a little bit with that. But I try and get out for about 2 hours, maybe 5 days a week. But it's only riding from home, very restrictive driving. But that's about it really. Just travel locally really there and not risk anything. We have a thing over here saying nothing dangerous at all. You don't want to end up in A&E and risk catching it really there as well. I think it's not being tested because we're not testing over here, which is ridiculous. But I think I've had the COVID-19 myself and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I can still feel my lungs almost repairing themselves when I'm laying in bed at night. It's a horrible thing to have. It wiped me out for a week and a half. The wife was wiped out with it for about three, maybe even 4 weeks now.
Wow.
And it's a horrible thing to have. But I still don't know if I've had it, so I've still got to be cautious. Don't know if I've got the immunity to it at all. So I've still got to be very, very cautious and stay out of the way of everyone.
How about you, Bruce? How are you coping with the lockdown?
I'm doing okay. You just got to stay safe, you know, and don't take the chainsaw out, do anything silly. Don't do any wheelies. Don't go rock crawling on the coast at low tide. Just enjoy the chance that you can. Like, well, for me anyway, I can go out. We go out. Basically, my girlfriend and me decide just to isolate together, so we can move between houses a week at each house. So I'm getting 2 different areas to ride. But you've just got to keep it back in your mind to stay safe. Don't touch gates and stuff. And yeah, enjoy it and still do blogs and still do films and, you know, give other folk, I mean, some folk will be crawling the walls, you know, in their houses and flats and towns. But if you can give them a half hour of a blog and a film to watch every other day, and if you're helping them, you might drive them crazy doing that, but hopefully it's not, and it's helping folk get through it. And you've got time to make plans for future trips as well, and do all the crap in the house that you've been putting off for weeks. But yeah, just stay safe, be sensible, enjoy yourself.
Cool. And Jeff?
Yeah, I'm coping well. I'm supposed to be working from home, so it's quite fun actually trying to teach students from my back room through the computer. They weren't really engaged in the classroom, so you know, I've got no chance at the moment. But you know, it gives me a lot of free time. I've been riding a lot more, getting out every day, like you say, for an hour, maybe 2 at the most, straight from the front door, down on the coast or the woods. As John says, no gnaw, so nothing, you know, no risks. You anything a bit gnarly, just get off and push. Take care of yourself. You know, you don't want to be sent to hospital. You don't want to be put in hospitals under, you know, added pressure when, you know, they could be doing what they're there to do, you know, and treat this awful situation everyone's in. And you know, Bruce said it as well. You know, it gives us time to plan. You know, it gives us time to reminisce what we've done, appreciate what we've done. You know, and you know, we can all look back at photos and films that we've done and gone, you know what, that was a bloody good trip. That bloody enjoyed that. I want to do that again, or I want to do that to it next time. And, you know, it's having that time, that reflection. You know, that reflection to look back what you've done, what you want to do again in the future, which is good because we don't get a lot of time nowadays. So
I'm quite lucky that I've been what we call furloughed, so I'm not working at all for maybe the next 2.5 months really there. So I don't have the pressure like Jeff of trying to teach people or do anything there as well. So I don't know about you, Bruce. Are you working or not?
No, I'm on 80% wages as per government. Gomez will know this. We've got an American boss, so they don't pay sick pay and they don't pay for much sort of stuff. But obviously, this is a unprecedented thing that's happened. So the government obviously stepped in it, and so we're on. There's 4 guys. We had the choice to work or not. Some of us had a little bit risk. I mean, I've got a very light condition of MS, but it doesn't affect me, as you can probably tell in my films and stuff. But my boss was like, "You're one of the guys that's off." There's a guy with asthma, he's off. Other guys that live with elderly parents and stuff. So there's 4 of the guys still working, but the rest of them are all furlonged. So, who knows how long this is going on for? It's something that's never happened before, really. So we just have to.
Not in our lifetime. Yeah. So the Spanish flu, they say, is the closest thing that we've had, and that was 1919, I believe, or 1918, right at the end of kind of. They said it helped put World War I to an end because people were too sick to fight. I think that doing things like this has actually helped me cope with it a little bit. This is just something that I haven't ever done before, is reach out and talk to other people about riding and whatnot. One of the things that I'd like to do is just to continue to show people how much fun these bikes are. So,
absolutely,
Exactly.
So guys, guys that make films, we'd love to feature your films. I know, John, you're an awesome photographer. Heard those pixels. And let's help show the rest of the world what it's like.
Yeah, no problem. I was going to say, got a new 360 camera now as well, so there's some unusual pictures coming out as well.
Cool. Right on. I love those. Cool. Cheers, boys.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
Okay. See ya. Cheers.
All right. Dun, dun, dun. I can't do anything without glasses.
All
right, guys.
Pause.